deal with airplane peanuts.
You can always tell you're in a dicey neighborhood when you see white girls with cornrows. Whoa.
Welcome to Starbucks. What can we get started for you to eat today? And you're like, wait, what? I just wanted coffee. And they're like, no shit.
You ever meet somebody and they're so boring, you feel like they poisoned you? Like...
Tom Segura's Sledgehammer has been blowing up since its debut on Netflix last week. The new special has been trending #1 in the United States and Canada after being released on the 4th of July. A lot has changed for Tom since his previous special, Ball Hog, came out in 2020, as he's fresh off one of the biggest comedy tours of all time, spanning 2 years in over 180 cities. Tom Segura is at the height of his popularity, and the anticipation for special number 5 could not have been higher amongst comedy fans, who were able to sound off in the comments right here on Joke World. And in today's video, we're taking a look at the comedy world's reaction to Tom Segura's Sledgehammer.
I will say I did watch, I never watched specials, and I was like, let me see what they're like. And I was watching yours. I'm like, yeah, this was fucking good. I was like, turning it back on, like watching it now, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
I watched Sledgehammer last night.
Oh, thanks.
And it was, I don't watch specials, or I do, but I turn, you turn them off.
Yeah.
Turn them off. Yeah. I was laying right there. I haven't laughed out loud at a special in a very. I was by myself at like midnight, laying right here, like the closer made me.
Oh, thanks,
I was
man.
dying, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really fucking good, man.
If you haven't seen it yet, some of the topics in Sledgehammer range from meeting Brad Pitt, getting dosed by Joey Diaz, eating edibles with his mom, and a lot about fatherhood, family, and marriage. The top-rated comment, according to YouTube, was from Really Dave Matthews. Mostly Stories and Completely Normal are still my favorite Segura specials. I'm ready for the next hour from the Young Bull and the Shaman. Out of the 500 or so comments on our post, I'd say a good 100 of them were people saying this is their favorite Tom special yet. However, there were still quite a few fans who preferred some of Tom's earlier work. This is How We Feel 9660 said, Tom's specials are great because he is really good at portraying a bad person on stage and can manipulate his words to make an audience laugh at things they really shouldn't be. Ball Hog is still my favorite though, I cannot lie. This guy said, I think Mostly Stories will always be my favorite. The timing and storytelling are masterful. Sledgehammer had sparks of the storytelling that Mostly Stories had. I appreciate him throwing out fan references. Anyone who doesn't like it is a G fan. Scotty4473 said, Ball Hog was phenomenal and there were some funny bits in this one, but if you're a fan of YMH, then you've heard versions of some of these stories already. So that made it a little less funny for me, but he's still the funniest man in comedy and stand-up specials don't tell the whole story anymore. I'd almost prefer some comedians on podcasts. This podcast argument was honestly the only legitimate qualm people seem to have with Sledgehammer, feeling like there was too much of an overlap with jokes from the podcast being used in this special. This has been a popular concern amongst comedy fans for a few years now, whenever guys like Tom, Theo, Tim Dillon, or any of the huge podcast names drop new hours. Thought it was boring. Not terrible, but a bit disappointing. I'm tired of all the cheap podcast callouts, crowd barring and references to Bert and Garth just to get the crowd to cheer. Simple Sock said, feels like Shane Gillis and Mark Norman are some of the only comics that still write bits and don't just stand on stage and podcast. And this person said, as a huge fan of Tom, it's not that good in comparison to his other specials. It felt like he was playing up for applause breaks and a lot of inside jokes. I definitely understand where these comments are coming from. However, I will just say that I watched Sledgehammer with two people who don't follow comedy podcasting at all, and there's really only 2 or 3 instances where I had to quickly explain what the reference meant. Overall, it didn't seem to hinder their viewing experience too much, and the podcast thing is kind of an impossible argument too, because I feel like there's always going to be people who'd feel disappointed if there was no references at all.
See his little ass come in the room, see the keys, and he's like, and I go, no, don't. And he picks them up and he goes, chase me. Down the hall. I go, okay. I give him a head start. He's 3. When I stand up, I see him dip into the bathroom. I'm like, no. And when I get there, and I lose my shit.
My wife and I saw him in Long Beach a day or so after his Brad Pitt encounter. It was awesome. He went up for like an hour and a half with Ryan Sickler as his opener. Comedy gold. He keeps getting better. Mr. Man Bear Pig 1993 said, it surpassed or tied Shane's last special. Really, really funny. I loved him. Edit. We were drunk, which is the only way to watch comedy. Or stoned, but I was both. Speaking of Shane Gillis, there were dozens of comments from comedy fans chomping at the bit for Shane's upcoming special. It's a beautiful sight to see all the dogs fired up.
I can drink and do stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Found out I taped a special this weekend, and
Oh, you did?
Turns out alcohol might help.
Really?
Yeah, the first show I was like, I got to go into this sharp, sober, average
show.
In between sets, I was like, I'm gonna kill. Give me those beers.
Dude, yeah.
You didn't really drink that much, though, did you?
No, not like a lot, but like 4 or 5.
Grease the wheels.
Yeah,
You had 4 or 5 before the second show?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's not a lot. Like that's
not a lot.
That's not chilling. Like,
4 or 5 Bud Lights.
4 or 5
over the course of 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's nothing.
For those of you who love Sledgehammer and wished it was longer, great news. Tom just put up a deleted scene from the special this week on his personal YouTube channel.
It kind of reminds me of a store. You ever walk into a store and like right away you're like, I should leave. Like when you get there. I feel like whenever they offer you something to drink in a store, that's a sign, Some stores you walk into and they're like, would you like still or sparkling water? And you're like, I left something in the car. I'll be right back.
This is one of my favorite specials in a long time. Tom Segura is one of my favorite comedians, so the expectations were high. I was honestly a little nervous that it would disappoint, but it did not. I would give it a 9 out of 10, highly recommend. Guest spots from last week, The Joe Rogan Experience had on Tom Segura. Tommy Buns was also on Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, as well as Are You Garbage? YMH talked with Adam Friedland. Chris DiStefano was a guest on Whiskey Ginger.
But yeah, they learned about that. My daughter, the other day it was funny. My daughter came home. This is what Catholic school in Staten Island. She came home and she had a little coloring worksheet, and they're learning about like gender roles and stuff. And you have drag shows in public schools in New York, and they're teaching kids about masturbation. My kid, Catholic school in Staten Island, she came home, it was a coloring sheet, and it had you were coloring in who's a man and who's a woman, and they had the man had a tool belt and a hammer at a wall like a construction worker, and the woman had a mop and was at a stove. And so like it's just like they don't even care. They just lean into like this is what a woman does, and this is what a man does.
What wall
and
was
nobody complained.
What wall was he really at? He was at the border. wasn't
Yeah,
he?
it said U.S. Mexico. Yes.
Kill Tony this week was with Trevor Wallace and Brian Simpson. Two Bears, One Cave was Bert and Tom and Bert. Brian Callen went on Take Your Shoes Off, and Mateo Lane was a guest on Flagrant. This past weekend with Theo Vaughn talked with Adam Devine. Taste Buds battled Grimace vs. Barney. Joe DeRosa was on the Giannis Pappas Hour. Dr. Drew went on the Honeydew. Greg Warren was a guest on We Might Be Drunk. Greg Fitzsimmons was on First Date. Fred Armisen was on the Blocks podcast. You Know What Dude posted a best of 2023, and Margaret Cho was on Tiger Belly. As far as new stand-up specials that are either out right now or coming out soon, obviously we've talked about it a bunch already in this video, but Tom Segura's brand new hour Sledgehammer is out right now on Netflix. It's hilarious. Go check it out. Other new specials to keep an eye on. Kevin Hart Reality Check is out right now on Peacock. Mark Norman's new hour is coming out 2 weeks from today on July 25th. And Rob Schneider Woke Up America is also out right now.
The CEO of United Airlines last month, he announced of all the hiring for all the new pilots that are coming up this year, all the hiring for the new pilots, the main focus is going to be diversity. What?
We just posted a new video recapping the funniest podcast moments from the month of June, so be sure to check that out right after this video. Also, let me know in the comments what you thought of Sledgehammer and what new specials you're most looking forward to. We'll definitely be making recap videos similar to this one for both Mark and Shane's upcoming specials, so if you want your comment read in a future video, be sure to subscribe to Joke World right now. And if you're really feeling wild, you can even follow us on Instagram. Thanks for watching.
At Joke World. That's it, at Joke World.
And the world is WRLD.
That's a great YouTube channel, Joke World. Check it out.